our problems. Well, it's not quite so simple as that. If somebody's rich because they provided a great service for us and we made them rich because we buy their product and they got no benefits from the government and no subsidies, they are being rewarded because we, the consumer, are rewarding them. But the rich right now are the individuals who have benefited from the inflationary system, the transfer of wealth from the middle class to the wealthy, and the people who got benefits from the government contracts and all the bailouts. They not only shouldn't be, they should be taxed, but they shouldn't get the money in the first place. We shouldn't be bailing them out. Will make the point about cutting spending. I will cut spending by $1 trillion in the first year. That's what we're doing. People get very nervous about that. Other candidates talk about cutting. Nobody's talking about real cuts. Nobody in Washington is talking about it. No candidate is talking about it. All they're talking about is reducing the proposed increases over the next 10 years. You know, the automatic cuts that came from the fiasco of last summer and the failure of the super committee, which was a super mess, the $1.2 trillion is over 10 years. So that's a little over $100 billion a year cut of proposed increases. Not real cuts, proposed increases. That means that the proposed deficit of $9 trillion is going to be $8 trillion. And yet, our national debt's going up $100 billion a month. And they think they're dealing with the problem. So we have to change our attitude, but we, the people, have to decide what we're going to put up with and what you're going to put up with in Washington. So if you want to change, you have to decide whether you really want to be the policeman of the world. And I don't want to be the policeman of the world. Whether or not you want to be into the entitlement system, the government, just by running up debt and printing money, will take care of everybody. I think the housing fiasco demonstrates that even the well-intentioned who wanted to make sure everybody had a house, it didn't work out that way. We enriched the wrong people and bailed out the wrong people. The people we were trying to help with these programs ended up losing their houses. But in my proposal in the budget, spending this $1 trillion, actually, I put provisions in here to try to protect the neediest and the ones who become the most dependent on government. Those who under retirement, those who were promised their Social Security checks, those who were enticed into government medicine. So I would want to protect Social Security, and it can be done if we change our attitude on government. We could protect Social Security, we could protect the medical benefits for both the elderly and the children and some of these Medicaid programs, but they would be high on the list for protection. If we don't do that, everything's going to go down the tube because you're going to have runaway inflation and these programs will fail. Because the more you write the checks and send the money out to the retirees, Social Security, the less they buy. The retirees are already know that their standard of living is going down because their cost of living is going up. And that could get much worse. So that's why we must cut. But there has to be priorities. I mentioned Department of Education. I have 5 departments that I would cut. I'd go back to 2006 baseline budgeting. You could save the money. We could work our way out of this. But it would not be easy. But I don't see it as a sacrifice. I wouldn't come to you and say, well, I know the answer here, and every one of you have to sacrifice. I think the people who have to sacrifice are the ones living off the government. That's the ones that have to sacrifice. And those who are willing to take care of themselves, it's not going to be a sacrifice to you if you pay less taxes. If we could work to the day where you don't have an income tax, wouldn't have to. We were warned in our early history to be careful. A republic is not going to be protected unless the people really want it. It has to be a moral and a religious society that would protect a true republic and protect freedoms. I believe we have more freedom from the republic. I don't think we have a republic. I think we have pure democracy where if you can get coalitions together and come up with a majority, they can run roughshod off the minority. Right now, the minority are people who would like to get the government out of their lives and they'd like to take care of themselves. Not only getting out of their economic lives, they'd like to govern out of their personal lives as well. And under those circumstances, the whole system would be so different. We'd emphasize different things. But the free society should be such a welcome. Freedom really brings people together. And that's why I think if you want to have a society that gets along and is diverse, everybody wants their freedom, but they might want it for a different reason. We don't insist to have freedom of religion so everybody has to follow the same religion. We have freedom of religion and people get to pick their religion or no religion whatsoever, and we put up with it. But as soon as it comes down to what we do with our own bodies, what we put in our own bodies, and what our habits are and social values are, sure, some people will abuse their freedom, but just because somebody won't be religious doesn't mean we can have a mandate saying you will be religious. It's ridiculous. I mean, we've gotten to the point now where the federal government tells us whether or not we can drink raw milk, and I think that's pretty bad. Eternity with that particular freedom, and we know about intellectual freedom. We're allowed to read books and study different subjects. But as soon as it comes to people's bodies, all of a sudden the government says, we're going to protect you against yourself. Governments, once we concede to the government that they're going to protect us from ourselves, believe me, there's not much left. You have to protect you from yourself, and you have to suffer the consequences if you don't take care of yourself, and you can't depend on somebody else to take care of you if you mess up. You know, I've gotten a little long-winded because we want to get a few questions in, but let me just finish on a very positive note. Because I've been talking about these issues for a long, long time. I got involved in the 70s. I was in and out of politics and did a lot of medicine too. But today there is a difference. It's different than 30 years ago. It's different than 4 years ago. Take, for instance, this issue that I was talking about last night about Cuba. The whole thing is different now than 4 years ago. Twice as many people agree with the idea that we ought to not have sanctions on Cuba, that we ought to start talking to the Cubans and traveling back and forth with Cuba. The freedom movement is alive and well. It's growing now. I used to think of it as a few young people and a remnant. Now the remnant is coming alive, and the number of young people joining the cause is growing by leaps and bounds. The momentum is there, and it's not going to be easy because those who have the power and the control will cling to it, and that is what's happening in Washington. Everybody's clawing away at a pie that is shrinking. If we don't want to claw away at the pie that is taken, which is redistribution of wealth, we want to enhance our freedom. If we enhance our freedom and understand how free markets work, believe me, that is the way to achieve peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Decision here regarding Q&A and/or trying to get some photos in, and we've chosen to go with the photos because I know for a lot of you folks it might be the first time you've seen the Congress. We might at least like to say hi to them as we do this. What we're going to do, we've got about a half an hour, and I'll take the blame for the showing us the time, but he's trying to get to as many places as he can during this trip. You've got your caucuses coming up, and we want to get us to every place we can get. So what we want to do is this. Folks who are not interested in a photo or any kind of saying hi can exit out the door this way. Those